You never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view, until you climb into his skin and walk around in it. That quote by Atticus Finch, to me, exemplifies the true meaning of compassion. Glenda Sheard here with episode 2 of Keeping It Real series. I am super excited today to have a very special guest with me, Fong Chua. Fong is an entrepreneur, a best-selling author, an engineer, a real estate investor. What else? A professional speaker, a coach. Most importantly, to me, Fong is my coach. Welcome, Fong.
Well, thank you very much for having me here.
So I've asked Fong to join me today because I'd like to ask Fong a few questions about compassion. Fong, share with us what you feel about compassion.
Well, to me, compassion is exactly what the quote says. Being able to relate to other people, being able to understand where they're coming from, or at least give it your best attempt to understand where they're coming from, be in their skin. And once you're able to do something like that, once you're in their shoes, in their skin, being able to understand where they're coming from and how to relate to them, then you're positioning yourself into a better spot to either work with them, deal with them, or even be friends and create a great relationship with them. So that's what compassion means to me.
Great, thanks so much. So the first question I'd like you to share is your thoughts on how compassion relates to you as a leader.
Well, as a leader, one of the main rules as a leader is to be able to utilize your team members most effectively. Now, in order to do that, you have to really know what their strengths, what their weaknesses, what their potential history is like or their family background is like, so that you could understand who can do either overtime or who can take on more roles or who can take on a more important role versus a less important role, so that you know how to utilize them most effectively. Now, if I'm able to understand where they're coming from, if I could understand their family background to the point where it's still professional, then I can go, okay, well, I know you have a family, I know you have kids, I'll let you go home now, but just to make sure that you can finish everything, you can come back earlier tomorrow, or time it so that your time at work is based on your family time, so you don't interfere with that. But if I know somebody who is a go-getter, who's young and wanting to do more things and take on more roles and kind of prove themselves, then I might be able to give them more roles or even challenge them further, just because I could see if I could hit their potential or find out how much more they can take on and maybe attack more challenges and help them grow even further. But I can't do that unless I understand where they're coming from, unless I put myself into their shoes, thinking whether or not I could take on more roles if I was that person as well. And I think that's one of the most important roles as a leader, is to be able to use your team, your people, your partners effectively.
Excellent, thank you so much. Next question is, how do you feel that compassion relates to you when you are working with your clients?
Well, very similar to working with a team member or people that I work with. When I'm working with clients, coaching clients, business clients, I need to understand what they're looking for. I need to understand what their goals are. I need to understand what their fears are, what their challenges are, and when I can understand that, I know how much I can push, and I know where my limits may or may not be. If I know their limits are right here, I might push just a little bit more just to help them get past that comfort zone, just to get past that limiting belief that they may or may not have. Now, in order for me to understand that, I take their concerns, take their challenges, take their fears, and try and relate it back to something that maybe has scared myself. Maybe I may not know exactly what they're feeling, but I could take a story from my own life, or take a feeling from my own life and relate it as close as possible to what they're feeling right now. and then think about, okay, how do I overcome that challenge? How do I overcome that scarcity? Or how do I overcome that fear so that I could bring it back down to that level where we can understand each other, and then give them a challenge or give them a perspective that allows them to go, oh, okay, from that perspective, I can hit that goal. Or from that perspective, I can push the limits a little bit more and get a little bit more motivated. Or at the very least, understand that it's possible and it's not something that's so daunting. So, for instance, when I teach people or coach people how to write books, first of all, people think that, oh, writing a book takes hours and hours and years. But when I take tasks down and break it apart and go, well, can you talk about a topic for 5 minutes? Yes? Well, that's a chapter of a book. Now, what if you talk about 10 topics that relate to one big topic separately? Well, now you have 10 chapters of a book. Now, if you break that down even further, you could get it all transcribed, you could get it all recorded, and it's already written. Now you just have to sit there and edit it. You don't even have to do that. You can send it off to somebody else to edit. So when you break things down and understand what they find is daunting, it's easier for them to, when you break it down to a point where, hey, it's not that hard, here's how you could do it easier, then they'll go, oh wow, I never looked at it that way. So that's how, from my perspective, when I'm working with my clients, with my business partners and all that kind of stuff, how to act compassionately, how to feel compassionate for the other person by understanding where they're coming from, allows them to succeed even further. And when they succeed, that gives me a good feeling because I'm succeeding at what I'm doing as well.
Wow, thank you very much. And as one of your clients, I truly understand exactly what you're talking about, and you have an ability to, I know you have with me, to have pushed me to work harder, to achieve more, to see things in myself that I have previously not been able to reach that. And of course, you've used compassion with that as well. So thank you very much. Now, I'd like you to please share a personal story about using compassion outside of your business relationships.
Well, outside of my business relationships, I find that anything has to do with relationships. So whether it's business or not, there's still a connection with other people. It may not be directly related to my business, but I also deal with a lot of tenants. And when I work with my tenants and when I welcome them into their first home or their new home or whatnot, I like to make them feel they're welcome. And from my perspective, one thing that happened to me when I first bought my home was that they came in, I was welcomed home with this nice big welcome basket by the builder. So if that's the case, that made me feel good, then I could do the same thing with my tenants. So every time my tenants move in, I have this nice welcome package, I have these nice gifts for them so that it makes them feel welcome. But I go on another step beyond that because I was thinking, well, if I was moving into my new place, what's the first thing I would do? Well, the first thing would be probably unpacking. And then after I unpack, I'll be sweaty, I'll be tired, I would like to take a shower. Well, I may not have gotten to the point where I unboxed all my towels. I may not gotten to the box where I unboxed all my shampoos and my body wash and all that kind of stuff. So in my welcome home welcome package, it comes with some towels and shower curtains and body wash and all that kind of stuff, so that if they wanted to, they could take a shower right away and feel relaxed. Now, if they even wanted to procrastinate a little bit and not unpack, well, there's a movie in there too, and some popcorn, so they can go and watch a movie and pop some popcorn. So that's one of the things that may or may not be directly related to my coaching business, but I also like building relationships with my tenants. So that's one example of how I do that.
Well, I know that I have seen pictures of the amazing packages that you have left for your tenants. And I think recently I said to you, at some point in time, I want to be one of your tenants. So you do and Jessica do an outstanding job at making your tenants feel extremely welcome.
Well, it's actually not just tenants, so completely outside of business, let's say, because if some people think that tenants is part of my business, I kind of put that same kind of thought and same kind of compassion when it comes to giving gifts for either during Christmas or during somebody's birthday. I would like to think about what makes them feel important the most. So if that's the case, is it something that they absolutely love? What's their favorite favorite TV show, what's their favorite hobby. And I would like to try and relate that gift to something that they actually feel, wow, you remember that? And that helps me build that relationship either with my friends, my families, even my clients, whoever it is. It gives them that extra thought that, wow, they have me in mind when that's going on. Even something as simple as a bookmark that has a dog on it, just knowing that the person I'm giving it to loves dogs makes a big difference. So,
Well, and again, I have also been the recipient of your amazing personalized character cards and with beautiful gifts that I have received from you. So you take it beyond the next level of compassion, of course, but also of appreciation for whether it be your tenants, your clients, or your friends. And that's something that I find very appealing, and you also add value to people's lives when you do that as well. So the last question that I have for you today, Fong, is if you could please share a time in your life where you were shown compassion.
well, one of those stories would be attacking our very first marathon run. Never in my life would have thought that I would go and run a marathon. And that's one of those things that I've been putting who does marathons on a pedestal because I thought that was something that's very daunting, very difficult. But somebody who's done marathons many, many times, and every single year they'll go to Disney World to do a marathon, in the end we go, well, let's ask this person how to accomplish this task. Well, sure enough, they came back with a plan, everything from how to train, what to wear, what to eat, everything, a schedule as to, okay, you need to run your first 5K on this date, your first 10K on this date. And that's because they've been through it. They understand the trials and tribulations of it, and they understand what we're going through because I was doing this with my wife, Jessica. And both of us really do not like running long distance. And because it just feels like, man, that's not fun at all. But he's able to break that down and make it and show us, you know what, it's not that hard. At the very minimal, you could just walk a marathon and say you've done a marathon. So with that in mind, if timing really isn't your goal to getting a personal best or breaking world records, but all you wanted to do is just break through that comfort zone, break through that limiting belief of you not ever being able to run a marathon, then just finish it. Who cares how long it takes? And that showed us that he understood where we're coming from and was able to make us go, wow, this is possible. And sure enough, we were able to finish it. And I use that story a lot because I could relate that down to book writing, relate that back to speech writing or doing presentations, because it's the same thought process, it's the same mindset to break things down and make it easier for somebody else to perceive what could be a lot easier to do than a daunting task.
Wow. Well, again, I have seen the pictures of the beautiful, beautiful medals that you and Jessica have been honored to receive by running in the marathons, the Disneyland marathons. They have beautiful, beautiful medals. And thank you for sharing that, how important it is about mindset, because if you recall, the episode 1 of Keeping It Real series was all about mindset, and you encouraged me, inspired me, and made me recognize that everything truly is about mindset. I'd like to thank you very much for joining me today, for sharing your thoughts and your views on compassion. Thank you, Fong. Remember, a compassionate tomorrow starts by making a difference today.